Good evening, everybody. Bishop Randy Dean here with you for a YouTube version of Sunday Night Sanctuary. Have some family activities coming up this weekend that snuck up on me, so I scheduled this, excuse me, so that it could be recorded into my YouTube channel, and then I'll drop it into my Facebook page as well, so that you can join with me as you have with me in various iterations of what I do here. Interestingly enough, last week I was in the southern part of the state of Wisconsin on my way home from a ministry trip, and time, construction, and other factors put me in a bank parking lot doing Sunday night sanctuary, and I'm glad to do it. I really am. I enjoy this with all my heart. So welcome. We start every Sunday night sanctuary with the Lord's Prayer, and we conclude with the Lord's Supper. So if you'll have some bread or a cracker at the ready and juice or wine for the conclusion, we'll be done here in about 15, maybe 20 minutes. But I want to start with the Lord's Prayer because built into the Lord's Prayer is what I want to talk to you about tonight. All right? Here we go. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. I pray with my eyes open, the Lord's Prayer in particular, because I am open for the surprises or the input that God might bring to me. And I'm also open to the ordinary that may be present around me, just like now, just the ordinary sights and sounds around me in my home. So I think it's a beautiful expression of how I want to approach tonight. So this is part 3 of a 3-part series on the precipitous decline of the church in the United States. As we have known it, the church as we have known it is in precipitous decline. Had a visit yesterday with somebody from the Catholic side of the Christian stream of life. And in our conversation, we were talking about in their diocese where there was a conversation about what are we going to do about how the institution of church is in such a rapid decline in the United States. Excuse me. And their conclusion, which I said that's brilliant thinking, was we've got to get off of the management side of this and into the mission side of who we are. Now the mission side can be defined by a lot of things as well. But it was interesting to me that this is a conversation, you're not just hearing this from me. Listen, if churches in the United States of America are not having this conversation honestly with one another to discover what do we do from here? How do we reinvent, if you will, who we are so that we can take this patient that's bleeding to death, stop the bleeding, heal the wound, and make this a right direction for us. In that patient illustration that I've made now a few times in the last couple of weeks, if you got a patient bleeding to death on a gurney in an emergency room and you stop the bleeding and you correct whatever the injury was, you still have some rehabilitation to go with that patient. The illustration holds true here as well. We have some, not only some urgency to stop the bleeding, but then we're going to have to do some rehabilitation going forward for the church. I've said it here again. I'm talking about the church institutionally. The brick and mortar of the church in the United States is in decline. It's dying. And in order to resuscitate this on any level, we have to ask some really pointed, specific questions of what's going on. I have some ideas. I imagine you know that already. So in my book, Radiance, I wrote some words about this 11 years ago. It wasn't specific to the precipitous decline because I was at least just seeing how steep this decline was back then. But I was addressing there, and I've continued to address this in deeper and deeper levels, how in terms of our foundational grasp of our theology and who we are and what light we shine to our world, we've got to take a good, solid look at what we are, who we are, what we're presenting to a watching world. In my book, I wrote these words. Some elements of Christianity are totally obsessed with total depravity and original sin. That is to say, Adam fell, therefore all humanity is cursed, all humanity is born under the cloud of sin. Every baby born is fallen without choice. And now the theology is, how do we address that from that standpoint? Now, without going into great depth here, because I don't have that kind of time in these moments, let me just suggest on a superficial level here that when we present to a dying world, dying for spirituality, that we're supposed to be presenting in a way that is good news, great joy for all people. When we present to a world that is dying for an authentic spirituality, that, well, here's your problem. You're depraved. You're totally depraved. You were born that way. You were born broken. And now you've got to say a specific kind of prayer. You got to go through a specific kind of motions, whether it be Catholic or Protestant. You make the choice in order to correct your fallen nature. There's so many problems with that. And our world knows it instinctively. They may not know it intellectually or theologically, but instinctively they know there's something wrong here. So go back to my quote from my book. So there are some elements of Christianity fond of announcing we're just born in sin, and the follow-up to that kind of mantra is we're just sinners saved by grace, and then of course grace has to come by some works on our part. Here's an honest question I have about that. How would a mentally healthy person respond to someone less mentally healthy who repeatedly referred to his children in that kind of manner? For instance, yep, my kids are depraved, every one of them. Like totally depraved. It's a good thing for them, lucky for my kids, they're born under my roof. I'm a big enough guy to just let it go. Otherwise, I'd have to kill them. Torture them. That's what I think listening ears with any kind of intuitive nature at all, they're hearing from us when we embrace this total depravity on any level, high or low. This kind of notion that we're born in sin and there's no way out except to go through our formula to get you out of that trap. What about this? Adam fell, but Jesus got up. Let's apply that for a moment or two. Adam fell, affected all humankind, but Jesus got up. He was resurrected, and that affects all humankind. Perhaps even more so. No, take the word perhaps. Even more so than Adam's fall. How about the rising of the second Adam, Christ, who by his resurrection has said, and if I be lifted up, I'll draw all people to myself. That picture of him dragging all humanity up needs to be painted in our mind and in our church walls and in our voice to a world that wants to know, what is wrong? What is wrong? Not with us, but what's wrong with you folks of faith? What's happening out there? Well, what part of what's happening in some small portion here is we're presenting to them a message that they're broken beyond repair unless they buy our spiritual package and unless they join our spiritual club. And once again, I don't have time to completely unpack that, but I hope you can see what I'm saying, or hear what I'm saying, and see the duplicity of that in a watching world that wants nothing to do with our presentation of their total depravity. Listen, we were born loved with nothing to prove. We were born loved with nothing to prove. We have won the attention of God's love before we ever landed on the planet. There is not a total depravity that has dragged us into hell before we even had a moment to breathe. There is a total resurrection that has been offered humanity that drags us, as it were, into this like iron filings to a magnet that drags us upward into a resurrected living. And we were born to that condition. And now it's a matter of being taught, what does that mean to you? How does that apply? How does your resurrected status, now that you're breathing on the earth, how does this raised, ascended life now apply to your beautiful little baby cheeks, you cute little thing? That I'm making this very short for the sake of this particular Sunday night sanctuary. I have had the privilege in the last 4 years of meeting and talking with people who are spiritual refugees, and in this group of sweet lives, in varying intonations and varying stories, I hear the same thing. They know something's wrong inside the institutional church of the United States. And by the way, this is international. There's something wrong. Something's not right. And the church, when it's not careful, and we haven't been careful, tends to circle all the wagons and rally the troops. We just got to tell them the truth in love and make sure they get it. Well, they get it far more than we are willing to admit. They get it all right, and they're running for their lives. It's time to present good news of great joy, which is for all people. If indeed Adam's fall affected all people, how much more? How much more? Paul says this, by the way, in the book of Romans. How much more does the resurrection of Christ affect all people? So let's take that one to the streets. Let's take that good news of great joy for all people so that this precipitous decline can be reversed. Not necessarily by putting butts in our pews, but by putting hearts in the hands of a great and wise God, an amazing divine entrepreneur who holds us with such tender care. There's no need for threats to get us to come that God's way. So when we come to communion, here's another subtle issue that has been a part of the church in the United States. And that is that we've presented communion as part of our deal. We have the bread here. You better sign on some of our doctrinal lines, and then we'll give you the bread. Here you go. No, wait a minute. Are you part of us? Here's the cup. Here you go. No, wait a minute. I don't recognize you. Can I see your denominational card? I'm making that facetious, but it's implicit in many ways that we serve the bread and the cup. And that's why here on Sunday Night Sanctuary, it is my pleasure to offer the bread and the cup to whoever shows up here. That's right. You show up on YouTube, you show up on Facebook, I'm going to offer you the bread and the cup, and all you got to do is provide your own bread and cup. I can't do that through the means of social media, but I can offer you a pastor's heart, a bishop's heart, to say that this was a body broken for you, that Christ said, Father, forgive us, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. And here's my broken body presented as an offering for their own wholeness, to make them whole, heal this, heal the bleeding, heal the brokenness. So I bless this bread for anyone who would choose to join me right now, or maybe you just want to hear me out and come back next week. That's fine too, but take my heart to the bank right now. This is for you, whoever you are, wherever you're listening, at any time, whatever church has ever turned you away from this bread and from this cup, I'm inviting you, come join the Church of Jesus Christ, where this is available for all. Good news, great joy, all people. Thanks for this bread, Jesus. I love the smell, the simple experience of just smelling it and then tasting and seeing you're really good. And in the like manner, Jesus took a cup and he blessed it. And by this cup, he is declaring there is only one law. Not 650, not 10, there's one. And this law is love one another as I have loved you. And greater love has no one than this, but that they lay down their life for their friends. And so Jesus laid his life down. You see, this wasn't God torturing his son to prove something. This wasn't some evil plan in the mind of a demented, mentally ill father who would torture his children if they didn't agree with him. This is all of the bureaucracy and the institutionalized religion and the empire of the day around Jesus that saw that they couldn't bear with what he was offering, this incredible good news, great joy, all people. And so they lashed out and took his life. And Jesus said, what's going to happen is going to happen. Now, when you drink this cup and eat that bread, I want you to remember what's happened and know this: greater love has no one than this, but that they've laid down their life. Now you go out, lay down your life and love. And so through this cup, Jesus, we enter the space of complete and total love. Amen. Well, thanks for being here tonight for Sunday Night Sanctuary. A little abbreviated, but I think you get the point of where I'm going. Ginger will put in the comments. We'll add our contact information. We'd love to hear from you. And feel free to share this, whether on YouTube or Facebook. It is yours to share. And if you didn't take communion with me tonight, I completely understand. It may take a little time to gain the confidence that you can, and I'm telling you, you can. If you come back next week and you don't, that's okay too. I'm just offering it to you week in and week out so that you can find a place to be received in this enormously beautiful, good, really good news plan. It's not like a whole bunch of bad news and then, oh, by the way, we're going to slide some good news in there. No, it's all good news. And that's what I'm on this earth to present. All right. Again, contact information is there if you want to get in touch with us, support our ministry, listen to my radio broadcast, No BS Bishop. I'm alive to love, lesser values than love devolve into BS. And yes, that's what my radio broadcast is called. All right. I love you all. Now go out there and do something beautiful, because ugly's getting done to death. And sometimes, regrettably, sometimes that ugly's been done in the name of our beautiful God. May it never be so again. May it end. And may all of us come together as a great company of beautiful people doing beautiful things. Peace. Happy trails, y'all.